Hello and good morning, world. I think I need to have this rule for myself that I'm not allowed to be on social media. My hand looks really fat. That's interesting. Do y'all see it? My hand looks fat. It's like interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah. Oh, look, there's more light. Oh, I can even open the window. Oh, there's nothing out there I want to see. Not a thing out there I want to see. Okay, so I woke up this morning, and if you follow me on Instagram, then this is not new for you. But if you're new to following me, or you just don't speak English, maybe that, I think that's like 90% of the people that watch my videos don't speak English. They just like, oh, this crazy American white girl, or whatever. Do you speak English? Do you speak English? Still not convinced. So anyways, I woke up this morning and it's actually welcome from India, not welcome to India, but that's okay. We'll just let it be for right now, because this is actually just a tangent about the ridiculousness of boys in the world. So, my calling, for better or for worse, part of my calling is offering myself creatively, and to be in alignment with what that means for me spiritually and morally. That means having a healthy relationship with capitalism. So some of my awakenings have happened with most of my awakenings have happened with embodiment practices. Most of them happened with the support of some other humans. Can I like mute these motherfuckers? Like, what is this shit? Like, no. This is ridiculous. Can I like, is there a way to do that? Can I kick them out? Is there no way to fucking get rid of these people? Oh my gosh. I'm totally making a new Facebook after this. Like next week when I get back from these 2 trips I'm going on, fucking done with this shit. This is ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. I mean, like, I can handle like oh look, I turned them off, so now I don't even have to, okay, wonderful. I don't even have to see any of your stupid fucking shit. Anyways, maybe I should just start this over now that I figured out how to turn the comments off. Maybe, I don't really want to do that. I don't like starting over. I used to be so into starting over all the time. It's actually really interesting because, I'm really like, when I consider where I'm at now compared to like where I was at like 5 or 10 years ago, I'm like, wow, I've grown a lot. It really like grown in my presence practice and my spiritual connection and my awakening and my enlivenment. So I'm really, really grateful for that. Yeah. That was one of the stories that I released, was this idea of perfectionism and like wanting to start things over, because I just felt like it always had to be perfect, and there was this idea of this like fresh slate, like I could just have this fresh slate and everything would be perfect if I just had this fresh slate. That's not real. That's not life. That's not sustainable. Like, there's no such thing as a fresh slate. We all have patterns. We all have trauma. I mean, some could argue that babies are fresh slates, but I don't even know if I subscribe to that anymore. I feel like that's really like a psychological principle. And like knowing how my intuition has showed up and knowing how my calling has showed up and like how much I was like dismissing the idea of spirituality pretty much my whole life until the past, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I'm like, And when I go back and look at my story and like how things have shown up, when I really honor intuition, I'm like, wow, it actually makes sense that this is my calling. It also makes sense why I didn't want to be a part of it most of my life, because it's really uncomfortable. But, and also that it's so misunderstood by the dominant culture, and that it's so like just lonely, you know. I'm like really envious of the masculine so often, because I like, y'all have so many resources in this world. It's like, how, and I guess maybe that's the problem with abundance sometimes, is like, y'all have so many resources to do and be and see and live anything you want to. Yet there's still this inadequacy of how you show up in the world, and it's still accepted for y'all to just be nasty to the whole world. So, for example, like, part of my awakening has been manifesting this connection with a twin flame that I've had. I've known this to be part of my journey my whole life, but for it to actually be embodied, and for me to actually be living it, and for me actually to have that part of my life right now, or did, you know, I actually like feel a lot of liberation from like releasing that contract, and I continue to feel liberation in releasing these other narcissist contracts that I come into. But essentially I do want, like, I want to like fulfill my karma. I do, like, I want, but it also like has to go both ways. Like, the other person in this soul contract has to be equally committed to the soul contract, or it's not going to happen in fulfilling that in this karma, in this lifetime. I mean, yeah, in this lifetime, not karma, in this lifetime. And so part of that is when I got pregnant. And then I was left. It's like, wow, okay, great, thanks. Like, which I realized that pregnancy wasn't actually about me. It was about like another soul contract. But it still doesn't negate the fact that like that's such a part of my calling, is like being pregnant and being sensitive and being a woman and sharing my love. So I started dating again. I'm like, wow, like coming into an understanding of spirituality and like what my truth is, and then trying to date is like nauseating. It's sickening. It's like, I attract all of the people in the real world and none of the people in the virtual world. And I'm just like, I want some boundaries about what my connections are. So I've been like giving online dating a good amount of energy for me, considering what technology does for me. I've been essentially virtually dating like 6 men for like the past, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months. And I'm just like, oh, I'll just be patient. And I'll just like surrender. And I'll just like welcome y'all to like, you know, have some initiative. Because now I understand that's what the masculine is. You know, most of my life I've been directing, and I've been then confused about why people don't like step up, or why people don't actually want to like commit to me. I'm like, oh, because I've been emasculating them their whole fucking life, which I get now is not just about resources, it's also about energy. I still haven't been on any Tinder date. I mean, not Tinder dates. I mean, yeah, Tinder dates. That I'll just say it. Yeah, it was, so some of them were on Tinder. I think I've recently considered contacting like a mail order bride service. Be like, can I just sell myself into sex slavery? Could I, like, sell myself into sex slavery? It'd be a really interesting documentary. I've always wanted to have a documentary about something I've done with my life. So I think I settle by, like, doing all this social media shit, since I can't actually, like, find these opportunities to make myself a documentary. I mean, if you've heard my life story, some of it is kind of, I don't actually think my life story is that interesting. I think my life story is interesting if you're really, really bored. But, like, I guess most people are really, really bored in their life. I'm just like, this, no, it's really not that interesting. You know what is interesting, though? It's interesting to me that we have a culture in America that literally tells us, women especially, consciously or unconsciously, that their life is defined by their mate. I'm still releasing that fucking story. Like, mate, meaning one person, the idea of monogamy for the rest of their life. Why don't men have that fucking pressure? Why don't men have, like, this standard of showing up according to what their lady does? According to how happy their woman is, according to how much they provide for her, according to how much pleasure she feels in her body from your little dick. Oh, I'm sorry. I emasculated you again. Which is really interesting because well, I don't know what's interesting about that, actually. I think I'm just man-hating. That's, like, the thing that I get accused of. I actually don't hate men. I really, really, really like men. If I really hated men, I wouldn't want to be with a man. I wouldn't even be considering, like, offering masculine services. I wouldn't even know what the masculine was. I wouldn't embody that. I wouldn't incorporate that into my practice. Like, I wouldn't let men be part of my social media stream. I wouldn't talk to men. Like, and there have definitely been phases in my life where I've done that. I've not talked to men. I've not looked at them. I've not engaged with them. And what I do hate, this is what I hate. Let me just clarify for you. I hate men that act like women. And I equally so hate women that act like men. Okay? Find your fucking alignment with your energy and how you show up in time and space. That's authenticity. That's transparency. That's the truth of spirituality. Like, we have so many people, like this, like, perfect example right now. Hi, Oliver. Perfect example right now is like, so, well, I mean, I have tons of examples of how men don't actually practice being men. And then they're like, oh, well, it's so hard. That's the fucking point. Men are supposed to do hard shit, okay? So often in our culture, women do everything. Everything, okay? And it's really frustrating because that also means that energetically we have to do everything. So, like, for me in my dating right now, I have to figure out how to play the feminine and also play the masculine. And I'm just like, this is exhausting. I would much rather not be in a relationship, period. But that's lazy. And that's taking the easy way out. And that's not my calling. That's not my truth. That's not my practice. My practice, my calling, my truth. My life is growing. My life is growing. And as comfortable and as stressful and as exhausting as it is for me to spend months, literally months, courting, you know, like validating, like playing, like sending pictures and videos and talking to, like, these men. And as much as I don't actually want to do it, what else am I gonna do? Like, not date? That's not actually serving anybody. That's the irony of like people when they separate in relationships. It's like you don't realize that your patterns are just going to continue on with the next person. Like, so many people are like, oh, well, you know, I broke up for this reason. I'm like, that's on you. And they can't even begin to conceptualize. And I'm like this too. Like, I hate it. For like the first like 3 to 6 months I'm with someone, I don't think about a thing that they say. I think about myself and how I can show up better, and how I can show up more authentically or more radiantly or more like transparently or whatever. And I'm just like, now I'm struggling right now, especially like physically, because I'm like, wow, I really don't practice a lot of self-care. That was some feedback given to me recently, which I'm actually incorporating. And I'm like, for the first time, I'm actually doing self-care because it's like attending to myself I want to do. Not because somebody else, well, it is kind of because somebody else told me to, but the realization came to me when I was like in a meditative stance of like really, really needing to tend. Like, the feminine loves to tend. Like, she does. She wants to take care. She wants to show love. She wants to like cook. She wants to nest. She wants to make things. Like, the feminines, that is her gift. That is her life. She is life. She wants to promote life and share more life and give more life. Like, I don't know any woman, maybe there's a few, and that's the thing too, is that there are exceptions. There are people, like genetically female people, that are have a masculine essence, is what it's talked about sometimes. And I don't want to invalidate them, but the majority of people, like, there's this trend now in spirituality of like being genderless and being like ambivalent and being neutral. And I'm just like, I lived that most of my life. I was like a woman trying to be like a man because it's so, it makes sense. It makes sense to want to be a man in a patriarchy. And it's been like this slow awakening, coming into understanding like where my energy shows up. And that's a really good example, is like I have been given nonverbal and verbal feedback my whole life. Actually, that's not true. I've been given nonverbal feedback my entire life about how my energy, actually that verbal as well. Feeling really grateful that I'm actually doing this right now, because I haven't been feeling like energy for doing these videos because they haven't been serving me. And I just realized this like connection about my journey, and I've been given feedback my entire life about how my energy is overwhelming for other people. And even when I think I'm actually like bringing it down or having more balance, it's not balanced. What's actually happening is I'm showing up with masculine energy. So I'm going from feminine energy to masculine energy. And it's sad that there isn't a place or a space where like feminine energy can be honored. Or maybe there is somewhere, I just haven't found it yet. But I tend to believe, I have come to the conclusion that most places and spaces don't welcome femininity. So I've begun creating my own femininity. Creating my own places and spaces that welcome authentic feminine energy. And, yeah, so, anyways, going back to the boys thing. So I bring this masculine energy to try to show men how to be men and connect with them in a way that women want to connect. Like, it's interesting, most of like what these messages are that I, with these people I'm dating virtually or whatever, are like a ping pong ball. It's like I say one thing and then they say something else and they say something else, but it's not connected. It's like, do we really not know how to connect with each other? Like, or is this just men? Or is this just like some men? Is this just people that are on online dating? Is this just American men? Like, what is this? Like, my dad, perfect example, as narcissistic as he is, and like into himself as he is, like, he can still do that. It's so funny. We'll play this game. It's like I consider it a creative game, and other people play it too. Like, but it's a game. It's not a practice. It's like something we do to be silly. So it's not real. It's just pretend. My camper is smelling. I'm cooking corned beef and cabbage, and like the blood that came from this corned beef was like, oh, this is so nourishing for my mood time. Anyways, so I was saying about my dad. Oh, in this game. Okay. So like, I'll say something and he'll say something else, and it'll be like a pun or a spin off of the word, some word I said. So like, I'll be like, that yogurt's plain. We fly in an airplane. Flying is what the birds do. Do-do. Do you do-do? No, we boo-boo. Boo. So that's just like a little like example. And then what I realized recently is that's actually poetry. That's actually a creative art that people try to go to school to learn how to do or something. I don't even know what it's called. I don't know what kind of poetry it's called. But it's like, I just thought this was like my dad being weird. Like my whole life until like the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years was like, my dad is just this weird dude. Like, and then now, like, I've come into this, like, wanting to embody and share, like, myself creatively and sustainably. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have this in me. Like, it's actually in me. And so, anyways, you know, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I need to bring these games or something, and I'm just like, but it's like I can't even get to like the real world part of these connections. I'm just like, and like half the time the other issue is people don't even get it. Like, people don't even get it. Like, they don't even get it. It's like, what are you doing? They think you're in some like world. They're like, come down, like, ground yourself, like, make sense. I don't know what you're doing. I'm just like, okay, masculine beings, I understand you have no creativity, so I will be like a robot and just receive and just respond indirectly. I will respond directly to your direction. Yes. No. Yes. 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 oh. Like, and then even like before the ridiculousness of like men, you know, needing someone to just respond to them, just obedient, like to be obedient to them, to just listen to them, is like, they don't, okay, and then like the other like type of man, oh that's right, I was gonna like add these, I do have these profiles of like what these men, oh I forgot all about that, oh my goodness, okay. So I have these like ideas of profiles of like men, because I'm like, I need to be able to categorize these people, or some people would be like, oh, judge these people. And that's also the other thing with like spirituality that I think it's important for us to understand, is like, judgment is a phase. It's like you come into judgment or you come out of judgment. So at some point we embrace the reality that as humans, as human beings with a hypothetically higher consciousness, we have to judge. Like, we judge our environment to like test for stimuli and test for like safety and like respond to what we do need to do to get our needs met. I mean, dogs do that. All animals do that. They judge their environment. But they don't hold on to that judgment. They're not like, oh, this judgment means that you're bad and you're not cool and you're my in-group and you're my out-group forever. Like, they forgive. Like, animals forgive each other. Humans don't do that as well. I mean, most humans don't. I'm also realizing that there's this thing I have, which is like, I'm so removed from the dominant culture that sometimes I can't even communicate with the dominant culture. Like, I'm trying to talk about judgment, but I haven't practiced judging in so long. I'm coming into practicing judgment again, but so much of like my journey, whatever, is like, you know, you're not supposed to judge people, but like, you do. I mean, we do. But can you let go of that judgment? That's practice. Like, can you perceive that judgment intuitively, and then can you incorporate that, or can you let that go? So, I think if I had judged more intuitively, there would be a lot of situations I wouldn't be in right now. Not saying that I'm living in regret, but I'm just saying, like, judgment, we can have a healthy relationship with judgment. So, I don't remember what else I was saying. Oh, boys. Was I saying something about boys again? One of my intentions for this video was to not say like over and over again. I think I've done alright. Considering I woke up and I was like, I have like 4 messages from like people that are like pretending to want to like connect with me. I'm like, ugh, this is like, I literally told this one person, I'm like, you have 5 text messages before I delete your number and block you, because we've literally been messaging for months and you've been saying the same thing over and over, again, and I don't have a plan. You've just been like saying the same thing. And I even said that, I was like, I need you to have a plan and a direction and a follow through. Like, how much simpler can I make this shit for these boys? I think that I'm doing this act of service. I think that's why I continue to have energy for this, because I think that I might be teaching them. I think I might be teaching them how to be men. Maybe, just maybe a little bit. But I think mostly they're just going to do the same thing with the next one. And that's why I'm just like, I just want 1. No, actually I want 4. Actually I want 3. Actually I want 2. I don't know, 2 or 3. So since coming into this awareness that like my energy is too much for essentially most men, I mean, I'm gonna live in the most world right now. Until proven otherwise, I'm living in most land right now. So I was with this man for a year, and we had a lot of intimacy. I'll just say with that. And I still, like, it was actually, like, I don't even want to talk about this right now, but if you want to hear more about it, it's on the darkness page or the fire page on my website, on my business. I'm not going to talk about this right now. But essentially, what I'm saying is that boys will be boys, and I'm going to be a boy too. My practice right now is to embody my masculine. And that means all of the ways. And unfortunately, it seems like I'm going to be stuck like that for a long time, because there's a lot of tall boys in the world. I really like that quote somebody told me. Tall boys in the world. There's a lot of tall boys in the world. And I do have to say though, just briefly, it'll be interesting to see like what's gonna show up now that I've like intended to, like, I don't know, brush my hair every day, or maybe like wear a little bit of makeup or something. And it'll also be interesting, this person is trying really hard now. I don't remember what else I was gonna say. Oh, what else was I don't remember what else I was gonna say. I don't remember. It'll be interesting to see how people show up now that I've intended on having more self-care. It'll also be interesting to see how people show up in response to, I don't remember what else I was going to say. Oh my goodness. I don't do that very often. I was distracted by this person pretending to like show up or something. Tall boys. I was talking about tall boys. Yeah, tall boys. Just gonna leave it with that. We will see if the tall boys hit puberty. Yay! I don't know if this was as entertaining. I don't know if this was entertaining at all. I am really grateful that I came into the awareness of like how this story has continued to reinforce itself in my life, and I've continued to have to like push through it and be accepted. And it's also really fascinating to me that like I guess what's fascinating and confusing for me is like I don't really consider myself that intense. Like there are way more people that are way more intense than I am. And I'm just like, but that's again comparing myself to other people. Like I know my truth and I know my story and I know how this story and this projection from other people has served me or has not. And also like learning myself is also going to help me offer my truth, my gifts, my practice, my direction to like my future beings you know? And like, someone told me, I'm gonna be a really cool soccer mom. I'm like, thanks. I don't know if I think that's a compliment or not, but in relation to my energy, hell yeah. Yeah. So, I also don't know how I subscribe to like competitive sports as a way of like being with each other. But that's okay, because if I have boys, they'll be great at competitions, and if I have girls, they'll be great at being cheerleaders. Like, we're gonna like have this balance with my boys and my girls. So, anyways. Wow. I can't believe. Anyways. Okay. So I'm gonna add this like thing. So if you would like, I'm gonna try to have a little more aesthetically appealing videos. Like, I don't know, work on my lighting and maybe do my hair, and like, I don't like this expectation of the dominant culture or how we're supposed to do this stuff to be successful business people in the virtual world, but it's what we got right now, especially for sensitive people, because there's not actually a place that welcomes us to be sensitive and can hold space for us to be sensitive. Yeah, so I hope that somebody goes on my website and subscribes. I don't have a like welcome email. I need to work on that probably next week when I get back in May. I think May is gonna be one of my alter egos in more ways than one. But anyways, I have a lot of stuff to do in May when I get back from these trips, and most of my, like, the best offerings I have are on my podcast. Because I can actually really focus on my voice instead of like focusing on what I look like, and it's more organized and more like linear and a little more balanced. And so if you subscribe to, like, if you feel overwhelmed by like how kind of like random I go, my podcast is much more organized, and I think moving forward when I try to actually put these videos on YouTube, I'll like have like notes or something. I don't know, because now I'm just like randomly talking about shit. So but my podcasts are definitely much more organized, and you can find them on my website, which is www.divineencounters.net. The spirituality that I'm promoting is that of balance, reciprocity with Mother Earth, and also the elements. So like there's like earth, water, wind, and fire, and so each element has like a different energy to it, and I'm also promoting like energy as a practice. So knowing your energy, being with your energy, deepening your energy, like channeling your energy, not suppressing it, not controlling it, not restricting it, just channeling it. And so I think it's really, really, I don't know, I hope people are benefiting from it somehow. And it's a virtual offering. I don't imagine that it'll really be anything ever in person. I do want to lead meditations in person someday, but so much of this spirituality that I'm promoting is more about deepening your own practice and not following somebody else. We already, I think, as a dominant culture, follow other people enough without it actually being something that's conscious, so I don't think that consciously following someone else is like what is going to enliven independent beings. Yeah. And maybe that'll change one day. I don't know, like somebody, like I hear people talking about different practices, and there's like I don't know, there needs to be a better balance of like what practices are independent and what practices are collaborative. And like, so the feminine is collaborative and the masculine is more independent, you know. It's direction. Feminine is like this union. So anyways, also falls in line with the idea of responsible capitalism. So it's like I have to energetically be offering gifts that are sustainable for me and also for other people. And so there's not an expectation of any sort of contribution right now. So for the next 4 months until August, when I have to, when everything is not in making anymore, when everything's actually made and published, in August, then there will be, like, there's actually going to be a membership, so you would, you know, you'd get to see, like, some of the website for not paying anything, and then you join the website, and it's like this membership, and it's kind of like this phases thing. So like you start in earth, and then water, and then air, and then fire, and it's like different levels of memberships. But there will always be free resources. I'm not ever gonna like not take away the free resources, but some of the resources that are more exclusive, it's in response to what is compatible with the world of spirituality right now. So like, I'm not undercutting the industry. You know, it is an industry. We all have to like give and receive money to get things. Unfortunately, that is capitalism. But it's comparable to what the industry is at right now in the industry. So it just depends on what you need, where you're at, what you want, and I encourage y'all to take a look over there.